Hi everyone, I'm back to read Chapter 3 called A New Friend and Good News. Chapter 3 is called A New Friend and Good News. Cecile was having the most beautiful daydream. It was opening night at a glittering theater, and she was the famous star of the show. The theater was full of people. She floated onto the stage dressed in a fantastic costume. Golden ribbons were woven into her hair, matching her jeweled mask and shimmering gold dress. She bowed and the crowd clapped wildly. She spoke her first lines, and the crowd fell silent, captivated by her strong words and clear voice. Then she began to sing as sweetly as an angel. "Oh, mais non, Cecile, did you practice at all?" cried her voice teacher, Mademoiselle Oceane, tapping her baton on the arm of her chair. Cecile had begun to sing off-key, and she knew it. Her final high note had sounded just like Coconne screeching when she refused to share her praline with him. She wanted to squeeze her eyes shut so that she wouldn't see the unhappy face of her voice teacher. But then she remembered what Maman always said, "A strong person faces her mistakes." "I'm sorry, mademoiselle. I know, Mademoiselle Oceane shook her head. "You were only daydreaming of your acting career." Cecile felt her cheeks grow warm. "No, yes," she sputtered. Mademoiselle Oceane's big blue-green eyes twinkled, and she laughed. Even her laugh twinkled like music. Cecile knew that Mademoiselle would understand. She was one of the best young opera singers in New Orleans. "I know I can never sing as beautifully as you," Cecile began, "but maybe you could speak to Maman. Tell her I could study acting also." Mademoiselle Oceane looked doubtful. "Cecile, I don't think... I've already learned one of William Shakespeare's poems completely by heart. They're called sonnets." Did you know? This one I learned just for you, Mademoiselle Oceane." Cecile clapped her hands dramatically at her waist. "Music to hear, why hasn't thou music sadly? Sweet with sweets war not, joy delights in joy." "Ah, music and sweets, my very favorite things," Mademoiselle interrupted. "Très bien, Cecile, very good." She clapped her hands. "I'm not finished," Cecile protested. "You are here to train your voice, Cecile. I don't think your maman wishes you to have a life in the theater," Mademoiselle said kindly but firmly, tilting her head to one side. Cecile shuffled the pages of her sheet music. Mademoiselle's look meant, "Get back to work." But Cecile's heart just wasn't in singing anymore. She sighed. "Perhaps you should warm up again. Try a few notes," Mademoiselle Oceane urged. But Cecile just lost her focus. Even though she took a moment to look at her sheet music, the notes came out all wrong. "Ah la li la." There was a noise outside the studio. Voices, laughing voices. Cecile swallowed hard. Someone had heard her horrible performance. She hoped it wasn't Fanny Metoyer, who also took lessons, and Fanny had no talent at all. Mademoiselle Oceane stood and gave Cecile a hug. "Don't worry, your mind is somewhere else today. Practice, oui? You'll do better next time." Cecile nodded and whirled around, ready to face Fanny's not-so-nice remark. She ran and pulled the door wide open. "Why are you laughing?" she demanded. But it wasn't Fanny who stood outside. Instead, there stood a girl just about her own age. She had light brown hair and wore a very plain dress. A handsome, well-dressed man stood beside the girl. He swung off his hat. "Bonjour, mademoiselle," he said to Cecile in a serious voice. I laughed because my niece looked so astonishing when she heard the music coming from within the room. She was quite impressed. Cecile relaxed. "Really?" she asked, looking at the girl's curious expression. The girl paused. "I've never heard anything like it," she said finally. Knowing that her scales had been quite dreadful, Cecile readily accepted this strange compliment. She gave the girl a quick half smile, and Mademoiselle Oceane came to stand right next to her. Mademoiselle smiled warmly at the man. He smiled back and took her hand for a moment. "Mademoiselle Oceane, I would like to introduce you to my niece, Marie Grace Rousseau Gardner," he said. "Ah, your uncle has told me much about you," Mademoiselle said, reaching out to shake Marie Grace's hand. "I'm so pleased to meet you at last." Then she touched Cecile's shoulder. "Marie Grace and Monsieur Rousseau, I'd like you to meet one of my favorite students, Cecile Ray." Marie Grace blushed and stepped closer to Cecile. "I'm pleased to meet you," she said softly, holding out her hand. For a moment, Cecile only looked at her. The girl's accent sounded familiar. She was une Américaine. Would she be offended to stand in the same room with a person of color, as the man at the sweet shop had been? Cecile wasn't sure how to behave, but she could almost hear her mother's voice in her ear saying, "A true lady always uses her best manners." Besides, when Cecile looked carefully into Marie Grace's heart-shaped face, she felt that there was something interesting about her. So she set down her sheet music and shook hands. "Hello," she said with a smile. "It must be wonderful to learn how to sing here," Marie Grace said, sounding relieved. "Oh, it is wonderful," Cecile replied, eager to start a conversation. "Mademoiselle Oceane is the best teacher. She's very patient and understanding, even when I make mistakes." She laughed, recalling her lesson, and continued, My maman wants me to learn to sing well, and Mademoiselle makes me believe that I will someday. Does your maman want you to take lessons too?" Marie Grace looked away. "No, my mother passed away when we first lived in New Orleans, when I was little." Right away, Cecile gave Marie Grace's arm a comforting squeeze. "I'm so sorry," she said, thinking of Tante Tay and Renee. "My uncle passed away not long ago. I know my little cousin misses him very much." "Renee, that's my cousin, and my Aunt Octavia came to live with us in New Orleans." As she spoke, another idea occurred to her. "So you were born here too? But you sound like une Américaine." Marie Grace looked confused. "Yes, I was born in New Orleans, but I am American, aren't you?" "I'm from New Orleans," Cecile insisted proudly. "Isn't that the same thing?" Marie Grace asked. Cecile shook her head. "No, New Orleans is different from anywhere else in America. And people from New Orleans are different from people anywhere else too. My grandpierre says so, and he's been all around the world." Marie Grace smiled and nodded thoughtfully. "Compared to all the other places I've lived, New Orleans does seem like a different world." Cecile raised her eyebrows. "You've traveled?" she asked. "Where have you been?" "I can't wait to travel and have adventures." "Oh, we moved a lot, but I never had adventures," Marie Grace said. Cecile smiled. "Tell me about the places you've lived," she urged. Then she listened with interest as Marie Grace described Elton, Massachusetts, the tiny town where she had lived last. It wasn't at all like New Orleans, Cecile thought, but still, the way Marie Grace talked about it, she wouldn't mind visiting Elton. In turn, Cecile tried to make her own family and household come alive for Marie Grace. She even flapped her arms, mimicking Cocon flying around the parlor. "You do have adventures," Marie Grace said, when Cecile stopped to catch her breath. "And you're lucky that you haven't had to move. Moving is hard." Cecile was about to ask Marie Grace exactly how many times she had moved when the door suddenly opened and Ellen poked her head into the room. Cecile couldn't believe that it was time to go home already. Sorry, miss. Am I too early? Ellen asked, looking around the rather crowded studio. With a start, Mademoiselle turned from Monsieur Rousseau and looked at the clock. It seemed that she'd lost track of time, too. No, she said. Cecile, until next time. And please do practice. Ellen smiled. Miss Cecile, get your cloak and be quick. The carriage is waiting. She began to gather Cecile's gloves and sheet music. Oui, Ellen. Cecile turned away from Marie Grace to do as she was told, sensing excitement in Ellen's voice. Hurriedly, she spoke to Marie Grace over her shoulder. Our maid is here to take me home. Perhaps we'll see each other again. I hope so. Au revoir. Goodbye. Au revoir, Marie Grace answered. Cecile grinned and waved as she rushed out the door behind Ellen, who seemed to be in an unusual hurry. What is it, Ellen? Cecile tried to tie her cloak and keep up as Ellen walked briskly to the carriage. The young maid was usually so calm and collected that Cecile knew something must be going on. I've lots to do at home, that's all, Ellen said, as the driver helped Cecile into her seat. But Cecile could see the twitch of a smile in Ellen's lips. Why? Is Maman expecting someone special? You might say so, Ellen replied. It's your brother. He just sent word that he'll be arriving from France in May, nearly 3 months early. Your mother is beside herself with happiness. Cecile caught her breath. Even though she was sitting, her knees felt wobbly. Armand was really coming home. She was thrilled, and yet suddenly she felt nervous at the same time. Her friend Monette's brother had grown so tall in the past year, Armand had probably changed too. It's a grand day, isn't it? Ellen was saying. Cecile was still deep in thought. First, she'd met a new and quite interesting girl, and now to hear that her brother was returning home so soon, a wide smile began to spread across her face. Grandpierre had said that adventures were right around the corner, and it seemed that he was right. Oh, Ellen, she exclaimed, it's a perfect day. Okay, and that is the end of chapter 3 of our book, Meet Cecile from 1853. And next time we will read chapter 4.